There are crimes that transcend mortal law, sins so profound they echo across dimensions, and in the vast tapestry of the multiverse, there exists one being whose purpose is absolute: judgment. But what happens when the spirit of vengeance is torn from his realm and thrust into a galaxy where damnation is not the exception but the rule? Today's tale explores the impossible, the Ghost Rider entering the grim darkness of the far future, where there is only war. If you crave more tales from where universes collide and legends are reforged in the fires of the 41st millennium, hit that subscribe button and join the faithful, because even the Emperor protects those who stand with the channel. Now, let us descend into a story that begins not in the far future, but in the flickering shadows of our own damned world. The demon's name was Khorne, and it had fled through 17 cities in 3 nights. Behind it, the roar of a flaming motorcycle echoed like the screaming of tortured souls, because that's exactly what it was. Johnny Blaze was long gone. Only the rider remained, and the rider never stopped. Los Angeles burned in patches. The 405 freeway had become a river of hellfire, melting asphalt into black glass as the Ghost Rider pursued his prey with mechanical precision. Khorne was different from the usual trash. This one had power, real power. Its form rippled between dimensions, 6 arms clutching artifacts stolen from a dozen forbidden cults. Its face a constantly shifting mass of screaming mouths. The demon glanced back, its 1,000 eyes widening in primal terror. The rider was gaining, his chains already spinning through the air like executioner's nooses. Khorne knew it had only one option left. From within its robes, the demon produced a sphere. No, not a sphere. A cage. A tiny prison wrought from iron that predated human civilization, and inside it, something pulsed with sick light. Souls. Not just any souls. These had been taken from psychers, humans who had touched something beyond, who had screamed of a golden throne and eternal war in their final moments. The demon didn't understand what it held. It only knew the price it had paid for it. 3 demon princes and a warband of cultists, all of whom insisted this artifact could open doors to realms even hell feared. Ghost Rider's chain wrapped around a highway sign, yanking him forward with impossible speed. His voice was the grinding of tombstones. "Your sins will be weighed, demon. Your victims demand justice." Khorne shrieked and crushed the soul cage in its fist. Reality screamed. The warp, that roiling ocean of nightmares and mad gods, felt the call. For the briefest instant, a pinprick hole opened between dimensions, between Hell's domain and the Immaterium itself. 2 realms of damnation touched, and neither wanted the other. Ghost Rider unleashed his judgment. The penance surge erupted from his skeletal hands, pure hellfire mixed with the accumulated agony of every soul the demon had ever tortured. It was meant to destroy Khorne instantly. Instead, it collided with the opening warp rift. Hellfire met warp energy. Human souls touched demonic essence. The laws of both realities rejected what they witnessed. The explosion was silent. That was the worst part. No sound, just a sudden absence of everything. Light, heat, existence itself, followed by a whirlpool of colors that shouldn't exist. Ghost Rider felt himself being pulled, his motorcycle dissolving beneath him, his chains extending into infinite spirals. The demon Khorne was simply erased, its scream frozen in time. The Ghost Rider tumbled through the space between spaces. Around him he saw impossible things, worlds burning from orbit, cities built from screaming faces, oceans of blood that formed into grasping hands, and something vast and terrible. 4 presences that turned their attention toward him with curiosity and hunger. Then he saw it, a light. Not hellfire, something else, something golden and ancient and sorrowful beyond measure. It pulled at him like a lodestone, dragging him away from the hungry darkness. The spirit of vengeance crashed into solidity with enough force to shatter stone. He rose slowly, flames dimming momentarily as he assessed his surroundings. The ground beneath his boots was wrong. Not earth, not stone. It was fused, metal and bone, and something that might have once been souls, all compressed into a surface that extended in every direction. The sky overhead was a swirling mass of colors, purples and reds and sick greens that moved with predatory intelligence. Ghost Rider walked forward, his footsteps leaving burning prints in the fused ground. Ahead, structures rose from the surface. No, not structures. Ships, starships, each one kilometers long, their hulls twisted and broken, jutting from the ground like the bones of dead gods. He recognized nothing of their design, but he felt their history. Millions of deaths, billions of souls crying out in anguish. Mountains rose in the distance, and as he approached, Ghost Rider realized they weren't mountains at all. They were bodies, demon corpses, thousands of them, piled and fused together by some incredible force. Their faces were frozen in expressions of agony, their claws still reaching skyward as if trying to escape their fate. And beyond it all, at the center of this impossible place, stood the ruins of a palace. It had been golden once. Ghost Rider could see traces of that glory in the few remaining pillars, each one inscribed with script that hurt to read. Not because it was forbidden, but because it carried the weight of absolute authority. The palace had been shattered by force so tremendous that reality itself still bore the scars. Cracks in space hung in the air, bleeding light that was neither holy nor damned, but something in between. The spirit of vengeance felt something he had not felt in centuries. Uncertainty. This was not hell. This was not earth. This was somewhere else. Somewhere the very air tasted of madness and war and unending suffering. Then he saw him. At the center of the ruined palace, chained to the ground with bonds that glowed with that same golden light, sat a giant. No, not a giant. Something more. He was 15 feet tall, his armor cracked and corroded, his flesh pale as death itself. Wings, or what remained of them, hung in tatters from his back. Half his face was angelic, beautiful in the way legends spoke of ancient heroes. The other half was corrupted, demon flesh writhing beneath translucent skin, horns beginning to emerge from his skull. The chains binding him were not metal. They were made of light and will and sorrow. The giant's eyes, one golden, one burning with warp fire, opened and fixed on Ghost Rider. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of 10,000 years of imprisonment. You are no demon, you are judgment. The warp itself trembled. Ghost Rider's flames intensified, casting dancing shadows across the broken palace. His burning skull turned slowly, taking in the full scope of this impossible prison. The Island of Penitence, though he didn't know its name yet, existed in a pocket of the warp, a bubble of forced reality held together by will alone. And that will was palpable, pressing down on everything like the weight of stars. The chained giant didn't move, couldn't move, but his eyes tracked the spirit of vengeance with an intelligence that spoke ovions of thought, of calculations and regrets played out across millennia of solitude. I know what you are, the Primarch continued, his voice like distant thunder. My father warned us of many things, entities from beyond, powers that existed before the warp consumed the galaxy. You are a spirit of vengeance. He paused, and something like bitter amusement crossed his uncorrupted features. How fitting that one should finally find me here. Ghost Rider approached, his chain dragging behind him, leaving a trail of guttering hellfire on the fused ground. He'd judged demons, devils, and humans twisted beyond recognition. But this being radiated something different, not pure evil, not innocence. but a catastrophic mixture of both that set every instinct ablaze. The bones and metal that formed the ground beneath them told stories. Ghost Rider could read them like scripture. Billions of deaths, entire worlds, legions of warriors, superhuman warriors, fighting and dying in this creature's name. And beyond that, something else. Demons. Thousands of demon corpses formed the mountains surrounding them, and each one had been killed by the same hand. "You've been fighting," Ghost Rider observed, his voice the grinding of stone on bone. "For 10,000 years, the Primarch replied. They send their servants to tempt me, to torture me, to break what little remains of my sanity. The four gods of chaos, Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, Slaanesh, they all want me. A Primarch, even a broken one, is a prize beyond measure." His chains rattled as he shifted slightly, the only movement permitted to him. "I kill every demon they send, and my father ensures their corpses remain, a reminder of my eternal penance." Ghost Rider studied the chains more carefully now. They weren't just restraints. They were a prison, yes, but also protection. The golden light that composed them pulsed with a rhythm like a heartbeat, vast and distant. Whoever had forged these bonds possessed power that dwarfed anything the rider had encountered. "Your father," Ghost Rider said, and it wasn't a question. "The Emperor of Mankind." The title carried reverence, love, and bottomless grief. Master of the Imperium, Lord of Terror, the Anathema, he who sits upon the golden throne, burning his soul to keep humanity alive for just one more day. The Primarch's voice cracked. "He was the greatest being ever born to this galaxy, and I was made from his own genetic template, one of 20 sons, crafted to conquer the stars in his name. Was," Ghost Rider noted. "I am the lost, the forgotten, the expunged." The Primarch's corrupted eye wept something that steamed when it hit the ground. "My brother and I, there were 2 of us who failed. The Imperium remembers only 18 Primarchs now. Our legions were destroyed. Our names were struck from every record. Our deeds were erased as if we had never existed. Even reality itself was encouraged to forget us." Ghost Rider moved closer, standing now within arm's reach of the giant. He could see the corruption spreading slowly through the Primarch's body, a constant battle. Golden light from the chains would push back the demonic taint, forcing it to retreat, but it would surge forward again within minutes. An eternal war being waged within a single body. "You want death," Ghost Rider stated. "I have wanted death for 9,000 years." The Primarch's voice carried absolute sincerity. "I have begged for it, screamed for it. The demons cannot give it to me. These chains prevent them from delivering a killing blow. My father will not grant it. He keeps me here for a purpose I can no longer fathom. Perhaps I am an example. Perhaps I am a warning. Perhaps he simply cannot bring himself to end what he created." The air around them rippled. Ghost Rider felt presences stirring in the warp beyond this pocket realm. Things were taking notice of his arrival, things vast and hungry and utterly inhuman. "You are judgment," the Primarch said again. "I can feel it radiating from your bones. You exist to punish the guilty, to make them face their sins. You are not bound by my father's chains or the Chaos God's hunger." He leaned forward, as much as his bonds allowed, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried the weight of collapsing stars. "So I beg you, Spirit of Vengeance, judge me, find me guilty, end this." Ghost Rider stood silent for a long moment, flames crackling around his skull. In his existence, thousands had begged for death to escape judgment. This was the first time someone had begged for death as judgment itself. "I don't grant mercy kills," the rider finally said. "This isn't mercy." The Primarch's voice rose, shaking the ruined palace. "Look at me. I am a monument to failure. Half my body is corrupted by the very forces my father created us to fight. I am a betrayer, a destroyer, I judge sins, Ghost Rider interrupted, his voice cutting through the Primarch's anguish like a blade. To judge you, I must understand what you've done. I must see your crimes. I must weigh your soul against your victims. Then look, the Primarch whispered, desperation replacing fury. Use whatever power lets you see the truth. Witness my sins. See why I deserve damnation. See why even my father couldn't bring himself to execute me, so he built this prison instead and threw away the key. Ghost Rider raised his hand, flames intensifying around his skeletal fingers. The Primarch was right. His power could reveal truth. The penance stare forced the guilty to experience every moment of suffering they'd caused. But he'd never used it to simply observe, to understand without destroying. This will hurt, Ghost Rider warned. The Primarch laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Pain is all I have left. Show me my sins, Spirit. Make me face them one more time, and then, please, end me. Ghost Rider's flaming hand touched the Primarch's forehead. Reality tore open, and the Ghost Rider fell into an ocean of memory, blood, and impossible choices. The penance stare, controlled and focused, was like diving into an ocean made of crystallized moments. Ghost Rider didn't destroy, he observed, pulling fragments of memory from the Primarch's tortured psyche and experiencing them as if they were his own. The first memory hit like a tidal wave. A laboratory, sterile, vast, filled with golden light. 20 incubation pods, each one containing something precious beyond measure. The Emperor stood before them, and Ghost Rider felt his presence like standing before the sun itself. This was a being who had walked the earth since before recorded history, who had guided humanity through millennia, who possessed power that made Hell's demons look like children playing with matches. "My sons," the Emperor said, his voice carrying love and pride and terrible purpose, "you will be legends. You will conquer the galaxy. You will unite humanity under one banner, and together we will build an empire that will endure until the stars grow cold." The pod opened. The Primarch, young, uncorrupted, perfect, stepped out. His eyes held nothing but devotion. "Father," he said, "I will not fail you." The memory shifted violently. A battlefield. Not one battlefield. Thousands, stretched across hundreds of worlds. The Primarch led his legion, tens of thousands of space marines created from his own genetic code. They were called. The name had been erased, scratched from reality itself, but Ghost Rider felt the echo of it. They had been magnificent. The Primarch fought with grace and precision. His blade, a weapon forged by the Emperor himself, cut through Xenos and traitors alike. But Ghost Rider noticed something the official histories wouldn't have recorded: mercy. After each battle, the Primarch would order his apothecaries to save the wounded enemy soldiers where possible. He would negotiate with alien species who showed willingness to coexist. He would weep, secretly, away from his warriors, for the civilians caught in the crossfire. "The galaxy doesn't need more death," he told his closest brother Primarch during a rare moment of peace. "It needs hope. It needs compassion. Father built us to be conquerors, but after the conquest, someone must remember how to build rather than destroy." His brother had warned him, "Father's vision is absolute. Question it at your peril." "I don't question his vision," the Primarch replied. "I question whether we're executing it correctly." Ghost Rider felt the pivot point approaching, the moment where everything changed. The warp around them groaned, as if reality itself didn't want this memory revealed. A world called Harrow's End. Imperial designation. Compliance target 77. Population 4 billion. Crime. Harboring a sect of psychers who refused to submit to imperial tithe. The Emperor's command was clear: exterminate the Psykers. Bring the world to compliance through whatever means necessary. The timeline: 3 solar months. The Primarch had arrived with his legion and studied the situation. The Psykers weren't corrupted. Not yet. They were frightened people who had seen what the Imperium did to their kind, bound them, shipped them to Terra, fed them to the Golden Throne to fuel the Astronomicon. They had fled to Harrow's End, built a sanctuary, and lived in peace. "They're not our enemies," the Primarch told his commanders. "They're refugees. We can bring them to compliance through negotiation." The Emperor ordered extermination, his first captain countered. "We don't have authority to countermand." "I am a Primarch," he replied. "I have the authority to interpret his will. He wants humanity united and protected. These people can be saved." Ghost Rider felt the Primarch's conviction, absolute, pure, born from genuine compassion. And he felt the catastrophic blind spot. The Primarch didn't understand the warp, didn't truly comprehend why the Emperor feared uncontrolled Psykers. The Primarch negotiated, spent weeks building trust, convinced the Psykers to submit peacefully. They would join the Imperium, undergo testing, accept regulation. It was working. Until the warp storm hit. Ghost Rider recoiled, but the memory held him fast. Harrow's End sat near a warp rift. That's why the Psykers had chosen it. They thought the proximity would hide their presence. Instead, it doomed them. The storm emerged from the immaterium without warning. 4 billion untrained Psykers, all suddenly exposed to the full force of the warp. The Primarch watched in horror as demons poured through improvised rifts, using the Psykers as doorways. Possession spread like wildfire. "Evacuate the cities!" he roared. "Get the uninfected off-world!" But there were too many. His legion fought like demigods, each space marine worth 100 men, but demons were infinite. For every one destroyed, 3 more crawled through screaming Psykers. The Primarch made his choice. He ordered orbital bombardment, cyclonic torpedoes, virus bombs, everything his fleet carried. He burned Harrow's End from orbit, turning the surface into molten glass. 4 billion souls extinguished in nuclear fire. The demons died too, banished back to the warp. But the damage was done. The Primarch stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the world burn. His armor was scorched, his hands trembling. He had tried to save them. His compassion, his mercy, his belief that there was a better way. It had led to catastrophe. If he had simply followed orders and executed the Psykers immediately, the warp storm might have found no anchor. 3 billion innocent civilians might have lived. "I killed them," he whispered. "I tried to be kind, and I killed them all." The memory fractured into a cascade of aftermath. Ghost Rider saw the investigation, the trial before the Emperor himself. He felt the Primarch's defense, passionate, broken, insisting he had tried to do the right thing. And he felt the Emperor's response. Not anger, not hatred, sorrow, profound, bottomless sorrow. "You are my son, and I love you," the Emperor had said, his voice heavy with grief. "But your compassion is a weakness this galaxy cannot afford. You showed mercy where I ordered strength. You chose hope where I demanded certainty. And because of that choice, billions died, and the warp gained a foothold it should never have held." "I can learn," the Primarch had begged. "Father, please, I can—" "You cannot unlearn compassion," the Emperor replied. "It is woven into your genetic code. I made you too human, my son. And in the 41st millennium, humanity is a luxury that destroys civilizations. The sentence? Erasure. Complete and total removal from history. The Primarch's legion would be destroyed, his name struck from all records, his deeds forgotten. And the Primarch himself would be imprisoned in the warp. chained in a place where his compassion would be tested eternally by the very forces his mercy had empowered. Ghost Rider pulled back, the memories releasing him. He stood once more before the chained giant, understanding now the full weight of what he witnessed. The Primarch's sin wasn't cruelty. It was kindness. It was hope in a universe that punished hope. It was mercy in a galaxy built on merciless mathematics. "Now you see," the Primarch whispered. "Now you understand why I deserve death." Ghost Rider stood motionless, flames dimming to a low smolder around his skull. In all his existence, centuries of judging the wicked, the cruel, the depraved, he had never encountered anything like this. The penance stare revealed truth without mercy, forced the guilty to experience their victim's suffering. But what did you do with a soul whose greatest crime was caring too much? "You hesitate," the Primarch observed, his voice carrying a note of bitter triumph. "Even you, spirit of vengeance, can see the weight of my sin. 4 billion souls, dead because I refused to be the monster my father needed me to be. You tried to save them," Ghost Rider said slowly, his voice grinding like tectonic plates shifting. "And I damned them instead." The Primarch's chains clinked as he shifted, the golden light flaring briefly. "Do you know what the warp does to souls? True death would have been a mercy. Instead, they were torn apart by demons, their essences scattered across the immaterium, fuel for the Chaos God's eternal hunger. Every scream, every moment of their torture, I hear them still. 10,000 years, and I still hear them." Ghost Rider walked closer, studying the corruption spreading through the Primarch's flesh. It wasn't advancing randomly. It followed patterns of guilt. Where the Primarch's self-loathing was strongest, the demonic taint had the deepest hold. The Chaos Gods weren't just corrupting him physically, they were feeding on his regret, his anguish, his desperate wish to undo what couldn't be undone. "The Emperor's judgment," Ghost Rider said. "He could have executed you. Why imprisonment?" For the first time, something like confusion crossed the Primarch's features. "I've wondered that for 10 millennia. Perhaps he couldn't bring himself to kill his own son. Perhaps he thought I could still serve as a warning, a monument to the price of disobedience locked away where my brothers could never find me. Or perhaps..." The Primarch's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "Perhaps he hoped I could somehow redeem myself. A fool's hope, but my father was capable of surprising sentiment." The warp around them rippled. Ghost Rider felt presences stirring in the darkness beyond the island of penitence, drawn by their conversation. Things were paying attention now, things that had tried for 10,000 years to claim the Primarch fully, and had failed only because of the Emperor's chains. "Your corruption," Ghost Rider observed, pointing at the demon flesh writhing beneath the Primarch's skin. "It's not taking you. Why?" The Primarch laughed, the sound devoid of humor. "Because I won't let it. Every moment of every day for 10,000 years I have fought. The chains prevent the Chaos Gods from claiming me entirely, but they can't stop the gradual erosion. So I resist. I push back. When Khorne's rage threatens to consume me, I remember the peaceful worlds I helped build. When Tzeentch's madness whispers, I cling to the simplicity of my purpose. When Nurgle offers release through decay, I refuse to surrender. And when Slaanesh promises pleasure to forget the pain," he shuddered. "I remember every face I failed to save on Harrow's End." Ghost Rider understood now. The Primarch's torture wasn't just physical imprisonment. It was psychological warfare elevated to cosmic scale. The Chaos Gods wanted him broken and compliant, but his guilt kept him resistant. He punished himself more thoroughly than they ever could, and that very self-punishment gave him strength to resist their corruption. It was the most perfectly designed hell Ghost Rider had ever witnessed. "In my world," the Rider said, Sin is measured by intent and consequence, cruelty born from malice, harm caused through selfishness, evil chosen with full knowledge of its cost. I knew the risks, the Primarch interrupted. I was warned about the warp, about uncontrolled psychers. I chose to ignore those warnings because I believed I knew better. Pride, arrogance, the sin of thinking my compassion was more important than my father's wisdom, or the sin of being right in principle but wrong in application. Ghost Rider's flames suddenly flared bright. Your emperor built you to conquer, to be weapons. But weapons don't build empires. They only clear the ground. Someone had to think beyond the war. Someone had to remember that conquest ends and civilization begins. The Primarch stared, his golden eye widening. You understand. I understand that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, Ghost Rider replied. I've seen it 10,000 times, but I've also learned to distinguish between evil disguised as good and good that leads to evil. They're not the same thing. He paused, flames crackling in the oppressive air. Your emperor made a calculation. Save some, damn others. Hard choices for the survival of your species. But you tried to save everyone. That's not sin, that's tragedy. The result is the same. The Primarch's voice rose, anguished. Dead is dead. Demon food is demon food. My intentions mean nothing against 4 billion corpses. Your intentions are everything, Ghost Rider countered. They're what separates murder from mistake. They're what makes you a prisoner instead of a monument. They're why your father couldn't bring himself to end you, why he built this place and maintains these chains across 10,000 years of his own agony on the Golden Throne. The golden chains pulsed, as if responding to the mention of their creator. He's still protecting you, Ghost Rider continued. Still keeping you from complete corruption, still holding open the possibility that this isn't your ending. There is no redemption from this, the Primarch whispered, but Ghost Rider heard the desperate hope underlying the words. 10,000 years of isolation, and some part of him still wanted to believe. I've judged demons who wore human faces, and humans who became demons through choice, Ghost Rider said. You're neither. You're something I've never encountered before. A soul caught between damnation and divinity, held in balance by guilt and love in equal measure. The warp shuddered violently. From the darkness beyond the island of penitence, Ghost Rider felt a response to his words. Not one presence, but 4, vast beyond comprehension, and they were no longer simply watching. They were afraid. The Chaos Gods had spent 10 millennia trying to corrupt this Primarch through torture, temptation, and despair. And now something had entered their realm that looked at their prize and saw not a victim to be claimed, but a soul that might yet be saved. They're coming, the Primarch said, raising his head. The demons, they always come when I show signs of hope. Ghost Rider's chains materialized in his hands, spinning with increasing speed. Let them! The warp itself began to scream. Ghost Rider felt it before he saw it, a disturbance in the fabric of this reality, like watching a wound open in the flesh of existence. The swirling colors overhead darkened, coalescing into something that pulsed with malevolent intelligence. The mountains of demon corpses began to tremble, ancient bones rattling against fused metal. They've never sent this many at once, the Primarch said, his voice carrying an edge Ghost Rider hadn't heard before. Not fear, anticipation. After 10,000 years of the same torment, something was finally different. The first rift tore open 100 yards from the ruined palace, vomiting demons into reality with obscene enthusiasm. Bloodletters of Khorne, each one a crimson nightmare of muscle and blade, materialized in ranks that stretched into the hundreds. Their brass armor reflected the sick light of the warp, and their hellblades screamed for blood, any blood, all blood. Ghost Rider's flames roared to life, transforming from smoldering embers to an inferno of hellfire. They die the same as any demon. No, the Primarch corrected, watching more rifts tear open around them. They don't die, not truly. Demons are fragments of their gods made manifest. Destroy their physical forms, and they return to the warp to be reborn. I've killed these same demons 1,000 times over the millennia. His chains rattled as he strained against them. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. Pink horrors bubbled into existence next, cackling masses of Tzeentchian madness that split and divided as they moved, their forms constantly shifting between different states of being. Behind them came plague bearers, shambling corpses that wept diseased ichor with every step, carrying rusty blades that promised infection and slow death. And finally, with a sound like breaking glass and silk tearing, the demonettes of Slaanesh pirouetted through reality's wounds. Beautiful and terrible, each one a perfect corruption of desire made flesh, their crab claws clicking in anticipation. 4 gods, Ghost Rider observed, chains spinning faster. United purpose. They've never been this coordinated before, the Primarch confirmed, and now Ghost Rider heard the concern. Usually they send one faction at a time, each god trying to claim me for themselves. This is different. They're working together. The answer was obvious. The Chaos gods had sensed the possibility of losing their prize. For 10,000 years, they'd held the Primarch in perfect stasis, too corrupted to return to the Emperor's service, too resistant to fully claim for themselves. A stalemate that served their purposes perfectly. But Ghost Rider's arrival had disrupted that balance. The spirit of vengeance represented something none of them had accounted for. Judgment that existed outside their paradigm. The demon horde charged. Ghost Rider's chain lashed out, extending impossibly far, wrapping around the lead bloodletter's neck. Hellfire erupted along its length, and the demon discovered that Ghost Rider's flames were not of the warp. They were something older, something that burned sin itself. The bloodletter didn't just disperse, it screamed as its essence was incinerated, truly destroyed rather than simply banished. Impossible, the Primarch breathed. That demon, it's gone, completely gone. Ghost Rider yanked his chain back, already spinning it toward the next target. I don't banish, I judge. Guilty souls burn, even demonic ones. The horde hesitated for just a moment. The briefest flicker of uncertainty. Then Khorne's will reasserted itself, and they charged with redoubled fury. Blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. Death or glory, but never retreat. Ghost Rider met them like a force of nature. His chain became a scythe, cutting through brass armor and demonic flesh with equal ease. Where it struck, hellfire followed, consuming demons in flames that burned away their connection to the warp itself. Bloodletters dissolved into ash that simply ceased to exist. Pink horrors split once, twice, then evaporated mid-cackle. Plague-bearers discovered their diseases had no power over something that had no flesh to corrupt. But there were hundreds of them. Thousands. A plague-bearer's blade scraped across Ghost Rider's ribs, the rusted edge seeking purchase. It found only bone wrapped in hellfire. The demon recoiled, its hand burning away. Ghost Rider's grip closed around its throat, and he channeled judgment directly into its form. The plague-bearer's eyes widened as it experienced something no demon had felt before, true consequences for its existence. It burned from the inside out. Behind the front ranks, the demonettes began their assault. They moved with hypnotic grace, singing songs that promised pleasure beyond imagining, whispering temptations that had broken saints and heroes. Ghost Rider felt their power wash over him, seduction, desire, the promise of sensation to one who had no flesh to feel. "You are so alone," they crooned in unison, "so cold. Let us warm you. Let us show you what it means to truly feel again." Ghost Rider's response was to grab the nearest one by its too beautiful face and introduce it to hellfire at point-blank range. I am vengeance. I need nothing else. The Primarch watched from his chains, and Ghost Rider caught something in his expression, hope mixed with horror. Hope because someone was finally fighting beside him after 10,000 years of solitude. Horror because he understood what Ghost Rider didn't yet realize. This was just the opening move. More rifts tore open. Greater demons began to push through, bloodthirsters with wings of brass and axes that could cleave tanks, lords of change whose very presence rewrote probability, great unclean ones whose bloated forms contained entire plagues, and keepers of secrets that made the demonettes look like crude sketches. Spirit of vengeance, the Primarch said urgently. I cannot help you while chained. The Emperor's bonds prevent me from... A bloodthirster's axe slammed into the ground between them, cracking the fused surface and sending shockwaves through the island of penitence. The demon towered 20 feet tall, its muscles corded with unholy strength, its eyes burning with Khorne's infinite rage. Skull, it bellowed in a voice that shattered stone. Throne. Ghost Rider looked up at the towering demon, his flames burning brighter than ever. Wrong. Judgment. His chain shot upward, wrapping around the bloodthirster's throat. The greater demon reached up to tear it away, confident in its strength, and screamed as hellfire seared through its immortal essence. This wasn't warp energy. This was something the Chaos Gods had no defense against. But even as that bloodthirster began to burn, 3 more pushed through the rifts. The Primarch strained against his chains, watching Ghost Rider fight alone against an army. And for the first time in 10,000 years, he spoke not a plea for death, but a prayer for life. Father, he whispered to the distant Emperor, if you can hear me, if any part of you still watches this place, he needs help. We need help. The golden chains pulsed once, twice, and very slowly they began to loosen. The Emperor's response was not words. It was something deeper, a tremor in reality itself, a shift in the fundamental rules that governed the island of penitence. The golden chains that had held the Primarch immobile for 10 millennia didn't shatter. They reconfigured. The Primarch gasped as weight he'd carried for so long suddenly shifted. The chains remained attached. Their golden light still pulsed with the Emperor's will, but they lengthened, allowing movement, not freedom, but fighting room. Enough. He rose to his full 15-foot height for the first time in an age, his wings, tattered and corrupted though they were, spreading wide. His right hand, still pure and uncorrupted, reached down to the fused ground and pulled. Reality groaned, and from the very substance of the island itself, a sword emerged. Not his original blade, that had been destroyed when the Emperor cast him down, but something new, forged from the accumulated matter of this prison. Demon bone, shattered starship hull, the crystallized screams of lost souls, all compressed into a weapon that hummed with deadly purpose. 10,000 years. The Primarch breathed, staring at his hands as if seeing them for the first time. Father, thank you. A Lord of Change noticed the Primarch's movement and shrieked in denial. No! The chains! The compact! The stasis must hold! Ghost Rider ducked under a bloodthirster's axe, his chain wrapping around its ankle. Compact? The 4 gods agreed, the Primarch explained, his voice gaining strength with each word. They would send their servants to torment me, but never enough to truly threaten the prison. They wanted me broken, not freed. They wanted me corrupted slowly, over eons, until I willingly surrendered to them. He raised his sword, its edge catching the sick light of the warp. But you changed the equation. You showed them I might be saved, so they broke their own agreement. The Primarch took his first step in 10,000 years. The ground shook. And my father, he continued, a savage smile crossing his features, just broke his. Ghost Rider destroyed another pink horror, its essence evaporating into true nothingness. Can you fight? The Primarch's answer was to move, a blur of motion that defied his size. His sword carved through 3 blood letters in a single strike, the blade passing through brass armor like it was parchment. His free hand grabbed a plague bearer and literally tore it in half. Holy light from his uncorrupted side burning away its diseased essence, even as his corrupted side savored the violence. "I am a Primarch," he said, his voice thundering across the battlefield. "I was created to be the perfect warrior, the ultimate general, a demigod made to conquer galaxies." He spun, his sword decapitating a demonette mid-leap. "For 10,000 years I have fought these creatures with only my bare hands, chained to the ground, unable to move. Now?" He launched himself at a great unclean one, his blade piercing its bloated gut. The demon tried to embrace him, to spread its plagues, but the Primarch's remaining purity burned like a beacon. "Now you face me unchained." Ghost Rider felt something he rarely experienced: admiration. The Primarch fought with a precision and fury that came from millennia of practice, every movement economical and devastating. But more than that, he fought with purpose. Not the mindless rage of Khorne's servants, but controlled violence in service of something greater. A keeper of secrets slithered toward Ghost Rider, its form shifting between genders and species, each one more tempting than the last. "Sweet spirit," it purred, "you fight for a lost cause. This Primarch is already damned. Half his body sings with chaos. Join us instead. We can offer—" Ghost Rider's fist punched through its chest, hellfire erupting from within. "I've heard better pitches from truck-stop demons." The Keeper of Secrets dissolved with a sound like breaking promises. They fought in tandem now, Spirit of Vengeance and Lost Primarch, 2 beings that should never have existed in the same reality, united against an endless tide. Ghost Rider's chains became extensions of his will, wrapping around demons and dragging them into judgment. The Primarch's sword sang through the air, each strike a masterwork of martial perfection learned across 2 centuries of the Great Crusade. A bloodthirster descended on them from above, its axe raised for a killing blow aimed at the Primarch's exposed back. Ghost Rider's chain shot upward, catching the demon mid-flight and slamming it into the ground with enough force to create a crater. The Primarch's sword followed a heartbeat later, piercing the bloodthirster's skull. "Behind you!" the Primarch shouted, and Ghost Rider spun to find 3 Lords of Change conjuring warp lightning. The bolts lanced toward him, reality-warping energy that could unmake planets. Ghost Rider's hellfire met the lightning in midair, and neither force yielded. For a moment, the 2 energies struggled, chaos against judgment, madness against law. Then, Ghost Rider pushed forward, and his flames consumed the lightning, racing back along its path to engulf the Lords of Change themselves. They screamed in voices that shattered dimensions as they burned. But for every demon destroyed, 2 more pushed through the rifts. The Chaos Gods were pouring everything they had into this assault. Demon princes began to manifest, mortals who had ascended to demonhood, each one a champion of its god. Possessed space marines materialized, corrupted Astartes from the Primarch's own era, wearing armor that bore marks that had been expunged from history. "Brother!" one of the possessed marines called out, his voice a chorus of the damned. "Join us, accept the gifts of the Four. You've suffered enough." The Primarch's response was to remove the traitor's head with a single stroke. "You are not my brother. My brothers served the Emperor. You serve only corruption." Ghost Rider noticed something troubling. The Primarch's corrupted side was spreading. The violence, the bloodshed, even righteous battle fed the chaos taint. With every kill, a little more demon flesh crept across his body. The golden chains glowed brighter, pushing back the corruption, but it was a battle of inches. "You're losing ground," Ghost Rider observed between strikes. "I know," the Primarch admitted, crushing a plague-bearer's skull under his boot. Combat feeds the corruption, but if we don't fight, we die. Or worse, I fall completely, and you face a demon Primarch alongside the rest of this army. A sound like reality tearing echoed across the island of penitence. Ghost Rider looked up to see the largest rift yet opening, and through it, something was pushing. Something that made the greater demons look like children's toys. Something that radiated power on a scale that made the air itself scream. "They're sending an avatar," the Primarch said, his voice tight. "A direct manifestation of one of the four. We can't fight that. Not here, not now." Ghost Rider's flames blazed hotter. "Then we don't fight it here." "What?" "We run." The Primarch stared at Ghost Rider as if he'd spoken in an alien tongue. "Run? I am a son of the Emperor. I do not." "You've been chained to the ground for 10,000 years, Ghost Rider interrupted, his chains sweeping through a charging pack of bloodletters. "Pride didn't serve you well the first time. Learn from your mistakes." The words hit harder than any demon's blade. The Primarch's jaw clenched, his corrupted eye blazing with warp fire, but his golden eye showed understanding, humility. The very trait that had gotten him imprisoned was also the one that might save him now. "Where do we run?" the Primarch asked, decapitating two demonettes with a reverse strike. "This is the Island of Penitence. It's a pocket realm in the warp. There's nowhere to—" "The palace," Ghost Rider said, pointing at the ruined golden structure at the prison's heart. "Your father built this place. There's something there. I can feel it." The massive rift continued tearing open, and now they could see what was emerging. Not a single avatar, but something worse. A chimeric horror that bore aspects of all four chaos gods. A bloodthirster's wings, a great unclean one's bulk, a lord of change's impossible geometry, and a keeper of secrets' terrible beauty, all fused into one apocalyptic form. "The four are cooperating more than they ever have," the Primarch breathed. "This isn't just about claiming me anymore. They're afraid of you, of what you represent." Ghost Rider grabbed a plague bearer by its throat and used it as a flail to clear a path toward the palace. "Good. Fear is honest. Now move." They ran, or rather, the Primarch ran with ground-eating strides, while Ghost Rider fought a retreating battle, his chains lashing out to intercept pursuers. Lesser demons melted under his hellfire, but the greater ones were learning, adapting their tactics. A bloodthirster tried to flank them, but the Primarch pivoted mid-stride, his sword removing the demon's leg at the knee before continuing his charge. The golden chains trailing from the Primarch's limbs glowed brighter as they moved toward the palace, as if drawn to their point of origin. Ghost Rider noticed the corruption on the Primarch's body was receding slightly. The closer they got to the Emperor's work, the stronger the purifying effect. "The palace was my cage within a cage," the Primarch explained between breaths. "The island keeps me in the warp. The chains keep me immobile. But the palace, I was never sure what it represented. My father's love, his disappointment, a monument to my failure." They reached the palace steps, massive slabs of golden stone that had somehow survived millennia of warp exposure. The moment Ghost Rider's foot touched the first step, he felt it. A presence. Not the Emperor himself. He was too far away, burning on his throne to keep humanity alive. But an echo, a recording, a message left behind. Behind them, the demon horde gathered, thousands strong now, with the chimeric avatar at their center. It spoke with four voices layered into one, each word a violation of natural law. "Primarch, Ghost Rider, there is no shelter, there is no escape. Submit to chaos, submit to eternity, submit to us." "I've heard that pitch before," Ghost Rider called back, "usually from demons with better dental plans." The Primarch actually laughed, a sound he hadn't made in 10,000 years. "You mock demons while they prepare to tear us apart. You're insane." "I'm focused," Ghost Rider corrected, pulling the Primarch through the palace entrance. There's a difference. The moment they crossed the threshold, everything changed. The cacophony of the demon horde vanished, replaced by silence so profound it was almost painful. The palace interior was larger than it should be, impossibly vast, with corridors stretching into infinity and chambers that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. But most striking was the light. Golden, pure, untainted by the warp, despite being submerged in it. Every wall, every pillar, every stone radiated the Emperor's presence. Not his power, that was reserved for the Golden Throne and the Great Crusade, but his intent, his purpose. Father's psychic architecture, the Primarch whispered, his voice reverent. I've sat outside this structure for 10,000 years, but never crossed its threshold. The chains wouldn't let me. Ghost Rider studied the golden chains still attached to the Primarch. They had stopped glowing aggressively and now pulsed with a gentler rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. He wanted you to enter on your own, not as a prisoner, but as a choice. I don't understand. Your father is a strategist, Ghost Rider said, walking deeper into the palace. He doesn't do anything without reason. He imprisoned you here, yes, but he also built this place as more than a cell. His flames illuminated ancient script carved into the walls, high Gothic but older, predating the Imperium itself. This is a test and an opportunity. Outside, the demons had reached the palace entrance. The chimeric avatar raised its combined weapons, axe, staff, plague sword, and claw, and brought them down on the golden doors. Nothing happened. The avatar struck again, pouring the power of 4 gods into the blow. The doors didn't even scratch. Impossible, the 4-voice roared. This is the warp. The warp is our domain. Nothing is beyond our reach. Except this, the Primarch said, touching the wall with his uncorrupted hand. The golden light flowed toward his touch, responding. My father built this place using a fragment of his own power, not warp energy, not material science. His own essence crystallized and made permanent. He looked at Ghost Rider with wonder. The demons can't enter. They can lay siege, but they cannot breach. Ghost Rider nodded. Your father gave you a fortress. He just waited 10,000 years for you to choose to use it. The Primarch sank to his knees, the weight of realization crushing. All this time, he never abandoned me. He never stopped protecting me. I thought this place was punishment, but it was preparation, Ghost Rider finished. The question is, preparation for what? As if in answer, a new corridor revealed itself, leading deeper into the palace's heart. At its end, a chamber glowed with light so bright it hurt to look at directly. And from within that chamber, Ghost Rider felt something that made even his eternal flames flicker with uncertainty. A presence. Not the Emperor, but something he had left behind. Something meant specifically for this moment, for this impossible meeting between a lost Primarch and a spirit of vengeance. Outside, the demon army began its siege in earnest, battering uselessly against walls built from a father's love and crystallized divinity. Inside, Ghost Rider and the Primarch walked toward whatever truth the Emperor had hidden in the heart of this prison. The corridor stretched before them, each step echoing in the impossible silence. Ghost Rider noticed the Primarch's corruption was actively receding now, demon flesh peeling away like dead skin, revealing the pure, gene-crafted tissue beneath. The golden chains had stopped glowing entirely, instead hanging from the Primarch's limbs like ceremonial regalia rather than restraints. It's healing me, the Primarch said, wonder and fear mixing in his voice. Being inside this place, it's burning away the taint. Your father's doing, Ghost Rider observed. He built this sanctuary using his own essence. It's anathema to chaos, just as he is. They passed through chambers that shouldn't exist in three-dimensional space. One room contained a single throne, too large for a human, too small for the Primarch in his current state. Another held weapons mounted on walls, swords, axes, bolters, all bearing the Emperor's personal seal. A third showed a star map, but the constellations were wrong, showing a galaxy as it might be rather than as it was. These are possibilities, the Primarch breathed, studying the map. Futures he saw. Paths that could have been taken. He pointed to one section where stars burned brighter. This one. This is the Imperium if the Horus Heresy never happened. All 18 of my brothers loyal, humanity ascending to dominate the galaxy. 18, Ghost Rider noted. Not 20. The Primarch's expression darkened. My lost brother and I were never part of that future. Whatever we did, whatever we were meant to be, we were always destined to fail. Father saw it coming and couldn't prevent it, or chose not to. They reached the chamber at the corridor's end. The doorway was sealed with script that blazed with psychic intensity, wards and protections layered so thick that Ghost Rider felt them pressing against his flames. These weren't meant to keep demons out. They were meant to preserve something within. The Primarch reached toward the door, and the wards recognized him. Recognition, authentication, acceptance, all in an instant. The door opened silently, revealing what lay beyond. The chamber was circular, its walls covered in more golden script that moved and shifted like living things. At the center stood a pedestal, and hovering above it, suspended in a field of psychic energy, was a single crystal. It pulsed with light that somehow felt warm and cold simultaneously, and Ghost Rider immediately understood what he was looking at. A memory crystal, the Primarch whispered. Father's memory. He left a part of himself here. Ghost Rider approached carefully. He'd judged souls for centuries, but this was different. This wasn't a soul, it was a fragment of consciousness, preserved across 10,000 years, waiting for this exact moment. He knew someone would come, knew you'd eventually enter this place. But he couldn't have known it would be you, the Primarch said. A spirit of vengeance from another reality. That's beyond even his foresight. Maybe he didn't know the specifics, Ghost Rider replied. But he knew his son would need guidance, would need to understand. The Primarch reached toward the crystal with a trembling hand. His right hand, the uncorrupted one, now completely free of demonic taint. The moment his fingers touched the crystal's field, light exploded through the chamber, and the Emperor spoke, not with words, with pure thought, compressed into concepts that bypassed language entirely. Ghost Rider and the Primarch experienced the message simultaneously, their minds forced to comprehend truths that would break lesser beings. My son, if you have entered this place, then the time has come for you to understand. The voice was warm, but carried infinite sorrow. Ghost Rider felt the weight of it, a being who had walked the earth for 40,000 years, who had guided humanity through countless disasters, who had sacrificed everything in service of his species' survival. I did not imprison you to punish you. I imprisoned you because I loved you too much to destroy you, but loved humanity too much to let you loose upon them. Images flowed with the words. The Emperor watching his son's trial, the calculation he'd been forced to make, kill the Primarch and risk destroying part of his own soul, or imprison him and risk chaos claiming him eventually. A choice between two agonies. You were not meant for the Great Crusade, my son. I created you for what comes after. This shocked both Ghost Rider and the Primarch into stillness. The Imperium needs warriors to conquer, yes. Your brothers excel at this. They are swords, shields, generals, and tyrants. But once the galaxy is won, once humanity stands supreme, what then? Who builds the peace? Who remembers that war is a means, not an end? The Primarch's legs gave out, and he collapsed to his knees, the crystal's light washing over him. I made you to be compassionate. I made you to value life, to see alternatives to slaughter, to question and improve and evolve my vision. But I made you too soon. I released you into a galaxy still burning, where mercy is weakness and kindness is suicide. You tried to be what I created you to be, and it destroyed you. Ghost Rider understood now. The Emperor hadn't failed to account for his son's nature. He'd designed it intentionally, but the timing had been catastrophic. So I placed you here, in the warp, but not of it, imprisoned but protected. I set you to fight demons for 10,000 years, to learn their nature, to resist their corruption while maintaining your core self. I knew you would suffer. I knew you would beg for death, and it broke my heart every moment of every day since I sealed you here. The Primarch wept openly now, golden tears streaming down his face. But I also knew that someday, somehow, the galaxy would change. The war would reach a tipping point, and humanity would need someone who understands both the necessity of violence and the value of mercy. Someone who has suffered 10,000 years of damnation and emerged still believing in redemption. The light from the crystal intensified, and Ghost Rider felt the Emperor's attention focused directly on him. I did not foresee you, spirit of vengeance. Your arrival is beyond my calculations, but I welcome it. You are judgment without corruption, justice without agenda. You can see my son's true worth where I could only hope for it. The message was clear. The Emperor was asking Ghost Rider to complete what he could not, to judge his son fairly and, if possible, to offer what 10,000 years of imprisonment couldn't provide: redemption. The siege you face will intensify. The four gods will throw everything at you rather than lose their prize. But if you can survive until my son is fully purified, if you can protect him until the corruption is completely burned away. The crystal pulsed one final time. Then perhaps my greatest failure can become my greatest success. Perhaps the lost can be found. Perhaps hope, which I buried in this prison 10,000 years ago, can finally be released into a galaxy that desperately needs it. The light faded. The message was complete. Ghost Rider and the Primarch stood in silence, processing what they'd witnessed. Outside, the demon horde continued its assault, but the walls held firm. He wants me redeemed, the Primarch finally said. After everything, after all my failures, he still believes. He doesn't just believe, Ghost Rider interrupted. He planned for it, built this entire place for it, suffered 10,000 years hoping for it. His flames blazed brighter. The question is, do you? The Primarch stared at his hands, both of them now pure, uncorrupted, the demon flesh completely burned away by the palace's sacred light. For the first time in 10,000 years, he looked almost as he had before his fall. Almost. The scars remained, visible and invisible, etched into his very soul. Do I believe I can be redeemed? He repeated Ghost Rider's question slowly, as if tasting each word. I've spent 10 millennia believing the opposite, convinced myself that suffering was my purpose, that eternal punishment was justice for what I'd done. He flexed his fingers, watching golden light dance across his skin. But now, the palace shuddered. Not from the demon assault outside. Those blows still couldn't breach the Emperor's sanctuary, but from something deeper. The warp itself was responding to the possibility of the Primarch's redemption, and it was not pleased. Ghost Rider felt it through his connection to Hellfire. Reality warping, thickening, becoming hostile. They're changing tactics. The direct assault failed, so now they'll try something else. Psychological warfare, the Primarch confirmed, his centuries of military experience surfacing. They'll try to break my will from within, make me doubt, force me to surrender voluntarily. He stood, gripping his sword tighter. It's what they've been doing for 10,000 years, but now the stakes are higher. As if summoned by those words, the chamber's walls began to shimmer. The golden script flickered, and through it, images bled through, memories but twisted, corrupted versions of what Ghost Rider had seen through the penance stare. Harrow's end burned again, but this time the Primarch wasn't trying to save anyone. He was laughing as the world died, taking pleasure in the destruction. The billions of souls weren't victims of his mercy gone wrong. They were fuel for his ascension to demonhood. "Lies!" the Primarch said immediately, but his voice wavered. "Are they?" The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, sliding through dimensions like oil through water. Tzeentch, the architect of fate, had turned his full attention to this pocket realm. Or are they the truth you've denied? You wanted those psychers dead. You resented your father's command to spare them. You orchestrated their corruption to justify the genocide you craved. More images. The Primarch standing before the Emperor, not in shame but in pride, demanding recognition for his slaughter. His legion not destroyed, but willingly serving chaos. His brothers not mourning him, but celebrating his erasure. Ghost Rider stepped forward, his flames cutting through the illusions like a blade. Cheap tricks. I've seen his real memories. These are fantasies. Are you certain? Now Nurgle's voice joined in, thick and wet like rotting fruit. Memory is such a fragile thing, Spirit. It decays, corrupts, changes over time. Who's to say what he showed you wasn't the lie he tells himself to maintain sanity? Perhaps these visions are the truth finally surfacing. The Primarch gripped his head, the images multiplying. Every decision he'd ever made recontextualized into cruelty. Every moment of compassion reframed as manipulation. Every sacrifice depicted as selfishness. I tried to save them, he whispered, but the certainty was cracking. Did you? Slaanesh's voice caressed like poisoned silk. Or did you doom them because deep down you wanted to prove your father wrong? Wanted to show that mercy could work, not for their sake but for your ego? Pride, sweet Primarch, the sin that births all others. Ghost Rider saw the Primarch weakening, doubt spreading through his mind like infection. This was the Chaos God's true power, not the demons, not the corruption, but the ability to make truth and lies indistinguishable, to weaponize guilt and self-doubt. "Listen to me," Ghost Rider commanded, his voice cutting through the psychic assault. "I've judged thousands of souls, seen their sins laid bare without filter or mercy. When I used the penance stare on you, I saw truth. Not interpretation, not memory, but objective reality. But how can you be certain?" Khorne's voice rumbled like collapsing mountains. "You are not of this realm, Spirit. The warp plays by different rules. What you perceived as truth might have been carefully constructed deception. This Primarch has had 10,000 years to perfect his lies, even to himself." The images intensified. Now they showed the Emperor not as sorrowful, but as disgusted. The imprisonment not as protection, but as the only alternative to execution. The other Primarchs not erased from history to protect humanity, but to erase the shame of their failure. "You are waste," the false Emperor's voice echoed. "A mistake I should have corrected the moment you emerged from your pod. I kept you alive out of weakness, not love. Imprisoned you because I lacked the strength to do what was necessary." The Primarch screamed, not in pain, but in anguish. These were the fears he'd nurtured for 10 millennia, given voice and substance by the Chaos Gods. Ghost Rider made a decision. He stepped forward and placed his flaming hand directly on the Primarch's chest, over his primary heart. "Then let me show you truth without warp interference," the Spirit of Vengeance said. "Let me show you what I saw, unfiltered, through my flames rather than through this tainted realm." Hellfire flowed from Ghost Rider into the Primarch, not to burn, but to illuminate. The flames were older than the warp, existed outside its rules, and carried truth that chaos could not corrupt. Through that connection, Ghost Rider replayed what he'd witnessed, the real memories, the genuine compassion, the tragic mistakes made with pure intent. The Primarch experienced his own life through an external perspective, saw himself as Ghost Rider had seen him, flawed but not evil, broken but not irredeemable. The illusions shattered. The four voices of chaos howled in frustration, their carefully constructed web of lies burned away by Hellfire's purity. The chamber's walls solidified back into golden script, the Emperor's protections reasserting themselves. The Primarch collapsed, gasping, but his eyes were clear. "Thank you," he breathed. They'll try again," Ghost Rider warned, pulling his hand back. "Psychological assault is just the beginning. If they can't make you surrender, they'll try to corrupt this place itself." As if on cue, the palace shook, not from external assault, but from something worse. The demon horde outside had stopped their physical attack. Instead, they were chanting, thousands of voices in sick harmony, channeling the power of their gods directly into the island of penitence. They were trying to unmake the prison itself. "The Emperor's sanctuary is strong," the Primarch said, rising to his feet with newfound determination. "But it's been here 10,000 years, constantly bathed in warp energy. Even the strongest fortress develops weaknesses over time." Ghost Rider felt it. Hairline fractures in the golden light, tiny imperfections where chaos could find purchase. Not enough to breach immediately, but given time and sustained assault. "Then we don't give them time," Ghost Rider said. "Your father's message said we need to survive until you're fully purified. How long?" The Primarch examined himself, felt the last traces of corruption deep in his genetic structure. "Hours, maybe days. The sanctuary is accelerating the process, but 10,000 years of taint doesn't burn away instantly." "Then we hold," Ghost Rider stated simply. "Whatever they throw at us, however they try to break us, we hold." The Primarch smiled, genuinely smiled, for the first time since his imprisonment. "You know what's funny, Spirit? For 10,000 years I begged for death. Now, faced with an army of demons and the full attention of 4 dark gods, I find myself wanting desperately to live." "Good," Ghost Rider said. "Hope is a better weapon than despair." Outside, the chanting reached a crescendo, and reality began to tear. The first crack appeared in the palace wall, a hairline fracture in the golden stone, barely visible but radiating wrongness. Through it, Ghost Rider could see the demon horde beyond, their chanting synchronized into a single blasphemous hymn that made the air itself bleed. "They're using combined sorcery," the Primarch observed, his military mind analyzing the threat. "Tzeentch provides the knowledge, Nurgle the persistence, Slaanesh the finesse, and Khorne the raw power. It's crude but effective. They're treating this sanctuary like a siege fortification." Another crack appeared, then another. The golden script covering the walls blazed brighter, fighting back, but Ghost Rider could see the strain. The Emperor had built this place 10,000 years ago, pouring a fragment of his essence into its construction, but that fragment had no external source to draw from, no way to replenish itself. It was like a battery running down, and the Chaos Gods had all eternity to drain it. "We need to disrupt their ritual," Ghost Rider said, his chain materializing in his hand. "Break their concentration from inside here." The Primarch gestured at the sealed chamber. "We'd have to open a way out, which would give them a path in. The moment we breach the sanctuary's integrity, we lose its protection." Ghost Rider's flames flickered thoughtfully. "Not if we're fast enough. Hit them hard, destroy the ritual leaders, get back inside before the horde can follow." "That's insane," the Primarch said. Then, after a moment's consideration, but it might work. The ritual requires coordination between the four Chaos factions. They're naturally antagonistic. Force them to defend themselves individually, and their unity falls apart. A larger crack split across the ceiling, golden light bleeding through like divine ichor. They were running out of time. "I'll take the Khorne forces," Ghost Rider decided. "Rage and violence are straightforward. You handle whichever faction presents the greatest strategic threat." The Primarch moved to the chamber entrance, his sword ready. Tzeentch's sorcerers, then. They're orchestrating the spell's architecture. Without them, the others lack coordination. He paused, looking back at Ghost Rider. "For what it's worth, Spirit, I'm glad you're here. I never imagined my last stand would be alongside someone from beyond reality itself." "Not a last stand," Ghost Rider corrected. "A holding action. There's a difference." The Primarch's expression turned solemn. "In the 41st millennium, every holding action is a last stand. We just don't admit it until after." They moved through the palace corridors at full sprint, the structure groaning around them as more cracks appeared. The golden chains trailing from the Primarch's limbs sparked against the floor, leaving streaks of light in their wake. Ghost Rider noticed they were growing shorter, pulling the Primarch back toward the chamber, the Emperor's protections trying to keep his son safe. "Father's bonds are reacting," the Primarch observed, feeling the resistance. "They want me to stay in the sanctuary. Can you override them?" "For a time, but the further I go, the stronger they'll pull. My father's will is..." He grimaced as the chains tightened. "Absolute." They reached the palace's main entrance, the golden doors that had held against the chimeric avatar. Through them, they could hear the demon hordes chanting, feel the warp energy concentrating into something catastrophic. Ghost Rider placed his hand against the door, hellfire flowing through his skeletal fingers. "On three, we hit them like a hammer, break their ritual, then retreat. No heroics, no last stands. Agreed?" The Primarch hefted his sword. "Agreed, though I should warn you, I haven't fought alongside anyone in 10,000 years. My teamwork skills might be rusty. Just don't hit me with that sword." "I'll try to remember which one of us is on fire." Ghost Rider counted down. 3, 2, 1. The doors exploded outward, golden light and hellfire combining into a shockwave that vaporized the first rank of demons. Ghost Rider launched himself into the horde like a meteor, his chains spinning in a deadly arc. The Primarch followed, his wings, healed now, magnificent and pure, spreading wide as he took to the air. The ritual shattered instantly. Bloodletters broke formation to charge Ghost Rider, their discipline forgotten in Khorne's fury. The spirit of vengeance met them with hellfire that didn't just destroy, but erased. Each demon touched by his flames ceased to exist in any meaningful way. Their essence burned so thoroughly that even the warp couldn't reclaim them. Above, the Primarch descended on the Tzeentchian sorcerers like an avenging angel. His sword carved through their protective wards as if they were paper. His own innate resistance to warp effects, inherited from the Emperor, allowing him to withstand reality-warping attacks that would have unmade lesser beings. A Lord of Change materialized directly in his path, its staff crackling with mutagenic energy. "You cannot win, Lost One. Even purified, you are still marked by chaos. You will always belong to..." The Primarch's fist punched through the demon's beak and out the back of its skull. "I belong to my father. I always have." Ghost Rider felt a presence behind him, the chimeric avatar from before, recovered from their previous encounter and hungry for revenge. Its four-voiced roar shook the island of penitence. "Skull, change, plague, pleasure, all for us." The spirit of vengeance spun, his chain lashing out to wrap around the avatar's throat. You want judgment? Let me introduce you to consequences. Hellfire poured through the chain, and for the first time, the avatar of chaos felt something it had never experienced before. Fear. True, absolute fear. Ghost Rider's flames didn't just hurt. They threatened true death, permanent erasure, the ending of existence itself. The avatar thrashed, trying to break free, but Ghost Rider held firm. The demon horde surged forward to save their champion, but the Primarch dropped from the sky between them, his sword cutting a perimeter of devastation. "You want him?" the Primarch shouted at the advancing horde. "You'll have to go through me first." Thousands of demons answered his challenge. For a perfect moment, Ghost Rider and the Primarch fought back to back, their powers complementing each other in ways that should have been impossible. Hellfire and holy light. Vengeance and redemption, two beings from different realities, united against an ocean of darkness. But the golden chains were pulling harder now, dragging the Primarch back toward the sanctuary. His movements became restricted, each strike requiring more effort as the Emperor's will asserted itself. "I can't hold position," the Primarch grunted, straining against the chains. "Father's protections are forcing me back." "Then go," Ghost Rider commanded, releasing the avatar momentarily to clear space. "Get back inside. I'll cover your retreat." "I'm not leaving you out here alone." "You said it yourself. Every moment you're exposed, you risk corruption. Get back to the sanctuary. Let it finish purifying you." Ghost Rider's flames blazed hotter than ever. "I'll be right behind you." The Primarch hesitated for one heartbeat, then nodded. "Don't make me wait another 10,000 years, Spirit." He turned and sprinted back toward the palace, the golden chains pulling him faster than he could run on his own. Demons tried to intercept him, but Ghost Rider's chain became a whirlwind of destruction, clearing the path. The Primarch reached the doors and plunged through them. They sealed behind him with a sound like finality itself. Ghost Rider stood alone before an army of demons, the chimeric avatar rising behind them, and the full attention of 4 dark gods pressing down on him like the weight of dying stars. He spun his chain and smiled, or would have if he'd had lips. "All right," the spirit of vengeance said to the darkness. "Let's see how long you can last against judgment." The demon horde surged forward like a tidal wave of teeth, claws, and malevolent hunger. Ghost Rider planted his feet, hellfire erupting around him in a defensive corona. His chain became a living extension of his will, striking out in patterns too fast for mortal eyes to follow. Each contact was judgment rendered instant. Demons didn't just fall, they ceased. Their essence burned away so completely that the warp itself recoiled. But there were so many. A bloodthirster's axe whistled through the air where his skull had been a moment before. Ghost Rider ducked, rolled, his chain wrapping around the greater demon's ankle. One sharp pull, and the bloodthirster crashed face first into the fused ground. Before it could recover, hellfire consumed it from the inside out. "One champion against legions," the chimeric avatar bellowed, advancing with deliberate menace. Its 4 aspects worked in terrible harmony. Khorne's rage driving its movements, Tzeentch's cunning guiding its strategy, Nurgle's endurance making it nearly unkillable, and Slaanesh's grace lending it impossible speed. "You cannot win! You cannot even survive!" Ghost Rider's response was to charge directly at the avatar, his chain spinning in both hands. "I don't need to win, I just need to buy time." They collided with a shockwave that flattened lesser demons for 100 yards in every direction. The avatar's 4 weapons came down in a coordinated assault: axe, staff, plague sword, and claw, each one carrying the power to unmake reality. Ghost Rider's chain intercepted them all, hellfire meeting warp energy in explosions of impossible colors. "You fight well," the avatar admitted through Khorne's voice, "but you fight alone. Your Primarch has abandoned you to save himself. Such is the way of this galaxy, survival above all else." Ghost Rider drove his fist into what might have been the Avatar's stomach. Hellfire erupted internally, and the Avatar screamed in 4 different registers of agony. He didn't abandon me. He trusted me. There's a difference. A pink horror exploded near his head, showering him with corrosive warp stuff that hissed against his flames. Ghost Rider grabbed a plague bearer and used it as a shield against a volley of warp bolts from Tzeentchian sorcerers. The plague bearer dissolved into putrid sludge, but Ghost Rider was already moving, his chain lashing out to drag 3 sorcerers together before incinerating them. The battle fell into a rhythm, brutal, desperate, but controlled. Ghost Rider had fought overwhelming odds before. The trick wasn't to win, but to survive. To make each moment count, to ensure that every second he bought was a second the Primarch had to complete his purification. Behind him, through the sealed palace doors, he could feel the sanctuary working. The Emperor's essence was burning away the last traces of chaos corruption from his sun, undoing 10,000 years of slow decay. It was like watching a tumor being excised in real-time spiritual surgery performed by divine will across impossible distances. A keeper of secrets attempted to embrace Ghost Rider from behind, its seductive whispers promising pleasure beyond imagining. He responded by setting it on fire from the inside, watching its perfect form crumble to ash. I've heard better pickup lines from pit demons, but the sustained combat was taking its toll. Not on Ghost Rider's power. Hellfire was eternal, judgment never exhausted, but on the battlefield itself. The island of penitence wasn't stable ground. It was a construct of compressed warp energy, demon corpses, and broken souls, all held together by the Emperor's distant will. The violence of this battle was destabilizing it. Cracks appeared in the fused ground. Not the golden cracks in the sanctuary, but dark ones, bleeding raw warp energy. The mountains of demon corpses began to shift, avalanches of ancient bodies sliding toward the battlefield. And from those corpses, something began to emerge. The demons Ghost Rider was destroying weren't truly dying. They couldn't, not permanently. His hellfire was erasing them from existence in this moment, but the warp was infinite and patient. Given time, even erased demons could be reformed, reconstituted from the base matter of chaos itself. But something else was happening. The Avatar, in its desperation, was pulling energy from the island itself, using the accumulated death and suffering of 10 millennia as fuel. The demon corpses were melting, flowing together, forming something new. "You understand now," the Avatar said, its voice taking on a triumphant note. "This island is built from our fallen. You stand upon a graveyard of chaos, and the dead do not rest easy here." The melted demon corpses rose as a wave, a tsunami of compressed malevolence and recycled hatred. It towered hundreds of feet high, blotting out the sick light of the warp sky, and it was coming down directly on Ghost Rider. The spirit of vengeance looked up at the descending apocalypse and made a calculation. He couldn't dodge it, couldn't outrun it, couldn't destroy it in time, but he could redirect it. Ghost Rider's chain shot upward, extending impossibly far, wrapping around the tsunami's peak. Hellfire poured through the links, and he pulled with every ounce of supernatural strength he possessed. The wave curved, diverted from its path, crashing down not on Ghost Rider, but on the demon horde itself. Thousands of demons were buried under the corpse wave. The Avatar, caught in the deluge, roared in fury as it was driven to its knees. Ghost Rider used the moment of chaos to sprint back toward the palace doors. He could feel the Primarch's purification reaching its final stages. Just a few more minutes, just a little more time. The palace doors remained sealed, but Ghost Rider could sense the sanctuary's energy pulsing behind them. The Emperor's work was nearly complete. His lost son was being restored, piece by piece, to what he should have been. A bloodthirster broke free from the corpse wave and charged, its axe raised for a killing blow. Ghost Rider spun, his chain wrapping around the demon's wrists, and channeled so much hellfire through it that the bloodthirster's weapons melted in its hands. "You're persistent," Ghost Rider acknowledged, driving his fist through the demon's chest. "I respect that." The bloodthirster dissolved, but 3 more replaced it immediately. Ghost Rider fought with his back to the palace doors, creating a perimeter of hellfire that nothing could cross without being judged. Demons piled up in mounds, their forms burning away faster than they could regenerate. The avatar rose from the corpse wave, its 4 aspects now working in perfect synchronization, advancing with inexorable determination. "You delay the inevitable," the avatar declared. "Even if the Primarch is purified, even if he emerges uncorrupted, what then? He is still a single being. We are infinite. The warp is eternal. Chaos always wins in the end." Ghost Rider's flames blazed so bright that demons shielded their eyes. "I've been delaying the inevitable for centuries. It's kind of my thing." Then, behind him, he felt it, the sanctuary's energy spiking, reaching a crescendo. The golden light bleeding through the door, cracks intensified until it was blinding. The Emperor's work was complete. The palace doors began to open, and through them stepped the Primarch, no longer lost, no longer corrupted, no longer broken. He stood 15 feet tall, his armor gleaming with golden light, his wings spread in perfect symmetry, his sword blazing with holy fire that rivaled Ghost Rider's hellfire. Both eyes shone gold now, no trace of warp corruption remaining. The golden chains had transformed, no longer restraints but regalia, marks of sacrifice endured and overcome. He looked like what he was always meant to be, a son of the Emperor, fully realized. "Thank you for waiting," the Primarch said, his voice carrying absolute certainty. "Now, shall we show these demons what true judgment looks like?" Ghost Rider smiled, or would have. "I thought you'd never ask." Together, they charged into the demon horde. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the Chaos Gods felt something they'd thought impossible. They felt like they might actually lose. The transformation in the Primarch was absolute. Where before he had fought with the skill of centuries tempered by millennia of desperate survival, now he fought with the perfection he'd been engineered to possess. Every movement was fluid, economical, devastating. His sword didn't just cut through demons, it unmade them, the Emperor's own essence infused into the blade, burning away chaos with prejudice. Ghost Rider and the purified Primarch moved like they'd been fighting together for lifetimes rather than hours. The spirit of vengeance swept low, his chain clearing demon legs and sending them tumbling. The Primarch struck high, his blade removing heads and limbs before the fallen could recover. Hellfire and holy light wove between them, creating a killing field where nothing corrupted could survive. "The Avatar!" the Primarch called out, his wings propelling him forward. "We end this now!" The chimeric avatar had recovered from the corpse wave, its 4 aspects now fully manifested and separated. No longer one creature but 4, each one a towering greater demon representing its god's will. A bloodthirster, a lord of change, a great unclean one, and a keeper of secrets, all working in concert. "Impressive coordination," Ghost Rider observed, his chain spinning to intercept a volley of warp lightning. "They really don't want to lose you." "They already have," the Primarch replied, and his voice carried absolute conviction. "I am my father's son. I always was. The only thing that's changed is that I finally remember what that means." The 4 greater demons attacked simultaneously. The bloodthirster came from above, its axe descending with the force to split mountains. The Lord of Change warped reality around them, turning up into down and making distance meaningless. The great unclean one vomited a plague tide that dissolved the very ground they stood on. and the Keeper of Secrets wove between them all, its claws seeking vulnerable flesh. Ghost Rider took the Keeper of Secrets, his chain wrapping around its impossibly beautiful throat. You want to know the problem with perfection? It leaves no room for growth. Hellfire poured through the chain, and the Keeper screamed as judgment found every sin it had ever orchestrated, every soul it had corrupted, every innocent it had destroyed in pursuit of sensation. The Primarch met the Bloodthirster head-on, his sword catching the demon's axe in mid-swing. The clash sent shockwaves across the island of penitence, cracking the fused ground in spiderweb patterns. "Khorne demands blood!" the Primarch roared. "I'll give him yours!" His blade sheared through the Bloodthirster's weapon, the blessed metal cutting through brass like butter. Before the demon could react, the Primarch's fist, wreathed in golden light, punched straight through its chest and out its back. When he withdrew his hand, the Bloodthirster's essence came with it, crystallized corruption that he crushed to powder. The Lord of Change attempted to flee into higher dimensions, reality folding around it like origami. But Ghost Rider's chain extended through impossible angles, following the demon through 6 different planes of existence simultaneously. You can't run from judgment, that's the whole point. He yanked the Lord of Change back into baseline reality and introduced it to Hellfire. The demon's scheming, its plots spanning millennia, its carefully laid plans, all of it burned away like morning mist. Tzeentch screamed across the warp as one of his greatest servants was erased from existence. The great unclean one laughed, a sound like swamps belching. "You destroy our forms, but we are eternal. Kill us here and we reform in the warp. Kill us in the warp and we emerge anew. You cannot win. Decay is inevitable. Entropy conquers all." The Primarch approached the bloated demon, his wings spread wide, golden light radiating from every inch of his purified form. "You're right about one thing. Entropy is inevitable. But so is renewal, death and rebirth, ending and beginning." He raised his sword. "My father taught me that. 10,000 years of punishment taught me that. And now, I'll teach you." His blade plunged into the great unclean one's bulk, and something impossible happened. The demon didn't just die. It was cleansed. The rot reversed. The decay unwound. The endless cycle of corruption ran backward until nothing remained but the faintest echo of what might have been before Nurgle claimed it. Nurgle himself felt that blow, and for the first time since the war in heaven, the plague god experienced something like pain. The Keeper of Secrets was the last to fall, Ghost Rider's hellfire burning away its perfect form until only its true nature remained visible. A twisted, desperate thing that had once been something else, something that had surrendered to temptation and lost everything that mattered. When Ghost Rider finally released it, the Keeper didn't scream in rage or promise revenge. It whispered a single word: mercy. Ghost Rider granted it oblivion. The demon horde, witnessing the destruction of their greatest champions, hesitated. Not from fear. Demons couldn't truly feel fear, but from calculation. The Chaos Gods were reassessing, recalculating, determining if this prize was worth the cost. In that moment of hesitation, the island of penitence itself began to change. The golden chains attached to the Primarch started to glow, not with the light of imprisonment, but with something else. They extended outward, spreading across the island's surface like roots, and everywhere they touched, the corruption receded. Demon corpses dissolved into neutral warp energy. The fused ground stabilized. The sick colors overhead began to clear. "Father's work isn't finished," the Primarch breathed in awe. "He's transforming this place, turning a prison into something else." Ghost Rider understood immediately. A sanctuary, a fortress, a foothold of order in the heart of chaos itself. The palace behind them blazed with golden light, its structure expanding, walls rising higher, new chambers manifesting from pure willpower. The Emperor burning on his throne 10,000 years and an entire galaxy away, was pouring more of his essence into this place, recognizing that his son's redemption had created an opportunity, a beachhead in hell itself. The demon horde felt it too, their domain being claimed, their territory being sanctified, their endless ocean of madness suddenly developing a dry shore where none should exist. The four gods' attention shifted from claiming the Primarch to preventing this new threat. But they were too late. The transformation completed with a sound like reality sighing in relief. The island of penitence was no more. In its place stood something new, the Fortress of Redemption, a bastion of order in the heart of the warp, sustained by the Emperor's will and guarded by his returned son. The demons tried one final assault, throwing themselves at the fortress walls. They broke like waves against a shore, the sanctified structure rejecting their very existence. Ghost Rider stood beside the Primarch on the fortress walls, watching the demon horde retreat into the swirling madness of the warp. "They'll be back. Let them come," the Primarch replied, his voice carrying the confidence of one who had endured the worst and survived. "For 10,000 years I fought alone in chains, barely holding back the corruption. Now I'm free, purified, and I have a fortress." He looked at Ghost Rider, and apparently an ally from beyond reality itself. "About that," Ghost Rider said, "I need to find a way home, back to my reality." The Primarch's expression fell. I don't know if that's possible. The warp is navigable, but crossing between different realities, that's beyond even my father's power." Ghost Rider's flames flickered thoughtfully. "But not beyond the Chaos Gods. They pulled me here through the rift. That means there's a way back. You'd have to force them to open another rift," the Primarch said slowly. "Which would require..." They looked at each other, the same terrible idea occurring to both simultaneously. "We'd have to make them desperate enough to try anything," Ghost Rider finished. The Primarch smiled grimly. "So we're not done fighting?" "Not even close." The Fortress of Redemption hummed with power, its walls pulsing with the Emperor's essence. Ghost Rider and the Primarch stood in what had become a war room, a chamber that had manifested during the transformation, complete with hololithic displays showing the surrounding warp. The technology was impossible, functioning despite being submerged in a realm where physics had no meaning, but the Emperor's will made it so. "If we want the Chaos Gods desperate enough to tear open a dimensional rift," the Primarch said, studying the displays, "we need to threaten something they truly value." "Their power base," Ghost Rider suggested. "This fortress is already a thorn in their side. What if we expand it?" The Primarch's eyes widened. "You're suggesting we actively claim more of the warp, turn their domain against them?" He paused, considering the audacity of it. "My father would call that either brilliant or suicidal, possibly both." "I've been called worse." Ghost Rider examined the hololiths, seeing swirling patterns of warp energy color-coded by which Chaos God held dominance. "The fortress is stable here because your father's essence is concentrated, but if we could extend that influence..." "We'd need anchor points," the Primarch interrupted, his strategic mind already working through the logistics. "Locations where the warp is thinner, where reality and unreality blur. Places we could sanctify and fortify." He manipulated the display, highlighting several pulsing nodes. "There. Those regions have been battlefields between the four gods for millennia. None of them holds absolute dominance." "Contested territory," Ghost Rider observed. "They'll defend it viciously." "Exactly. Which means drawing out their strongest servants, their most powerful champions." The Primarch's smile turned predatory. And when they commit everything to stop us, when they're desperate and reaching for any solution, they'll remember that a rift between realities worked once before. Ghost Rider nodded slowly. High risk, but it's the only play we have. The Primarch turned from the display, his expression serious. Before we commit to this, Spirit, you should know what you're proposing. We're talking about waging war in the warp itself. There are no rules here, no natural laws to protect you. The demons we've fought so far, they're nothing compared to what the gods will send if we genuinely threaten their power. I've been to hell, Ghost Rider replied. Multiple versions of it. This is just another variation. No. The Primarch shook his head. Hell has structure, hierarchy, rules. The warp is different. It's emotion given form, belief made manifest, dreams and nightmares bleeding into reality. It's alive in a way hell never could be, and it actively wants to corrupt you, break you, make you part of itself. He gestured to his own chest. I resisted for 10,000 years, and it nearly succeeded. You've been here for hours. How much longer can you maintain your integrity? Ghost Rider looked down at his hands, watching hellfire dance across skeletal fingers. The Primarch had a point. He could feel the warp pressing against him, testing for weaknesses, trying to understand what he was so it could corrupt what it understood. So far, his nature as a spirit of vengeance, something that existed outside conventional reality, had protected him. But indefinitely, I can last long enough, he said with more confidence than he felt. The question is whether you can. You're purified now, but exposure to combat, to all that chaos energy. The fortress will protect me, the Primarch assured him. As long as I return here after each engagement, Father's essence will burn away any taint before it can take root. It's not perfect, but it's sustainable. He paused. The greater question is whether we can win. Taking territory in the warp isn't like conquering a planet. We'd be fighting against infinity itself. Then we don't try to win, Ghost Rider said. We just make enough noise that the gods have to respond, draw them out, force them to overcommit, create chaos in chaos. The Primarch laughed, genuine amusement. Using their own nature against them. I like it. His expression sobered. But understand, Spirit, once we start this, there's no retreat. The Chaos Gods don't accept surrender, and they have very long memories. If this fails, if they capture you instead of opening a rift, they'll torture me for eternity, try to corrupt me into one of their servants, parade me as a trophy. Ghost Rider's flames burned brighter. I'm aware of the stakes. But I'm also aware that every moment I stay here is another moment the Chaos Gods have a spirit of vengeance to study, to understand, to potentially weaponize. Better to force the issue now than give them time to adapt. The Primarch studied Ghost Rider for a long moment, then nodded. Spoken like a true warrior, my brother Guilliman would approve. Aggressive action over passive defense. He turned back to the hololiths. Very well. We'll strike at this node first. He highlighted a swirling vortex of competing energies. It's a confluence where all four gods' domains meet, claiming it would be a symbolic victory, proof that we're not just defending but advancing. How far from here? Distance doesn't work the same way in the warp, but the Primarch performed calculations that made Ghost Rider's flames flicker just watching. In terms of subjective travel time, perhaps an hour of flight, but we'll be exposed the entire way, vulnerable to attack. Then we move fast and hit hard. Ghost Rider's chain materialized, spinning slowly. How do we sanctify a warp node? The Primarch held up his hand, where the golden chains still wrapped around his wrist like jewelry. These chains are fragments of my father's power. If I can plant one at the node's center and channel enough of his essence through it, the node will stabilize into something resembling order. The warp will resist, but if I can hold for long enough, I'll make sure you have that time. Ghost Rider promised. They prepared in silence, each checking their weapons, centering themselves for what was to come. The Primarch said a prayer to the Emperor, not begging for protection, but expressing gratitude for the opportunity to serve again. Ghost Rider simply let his hellfire burn, stoking the flames of judgment that had sustained him for centuries. "One more thing," the Primarch said as they moved toward the fortress gates. "If this works, if they do open a rift and you can return to your reality, thank you for everything, for seeing me as more than a failure, for fighting beside me, for helping me remember who I was meant to be." Ghost Rider paused. "If I make it back, I'll remember you, the lost Primarch who was found, the one who chose redemption over damnation." "I was never truly lost," the Primarch replied softly, "just waiting for someone to remind me where home was." The fortress gates opened, revealing the swirling madness of the warp beyond. Together they stepped into the storm, and the Chaos Gods felt fear sharpen into something closer to terror. Because an army you can fight, a fortress you can siege, but hope was a weapon they had no defense against. Flying through the warp was nothing like traveling through normal space. There was no up or down, no consistent geometry, no laws governing motion or inertia. The Primarch's wings carried him forward through sheer force of will, his body cutting through the immaterium like a ship through stormy seas. Ghost Rider followed, his essence propelling him without need for wings or vehicle, hellfire trailing behind him like a comet's tail. The landscape, if it could be called that, shifted constantly. They passed through regions where time ran backward, where sound became visible and light could be tasted. Faces formed in the warp's substance, screaming or laughing or simply watching with hungry eyes. Colors that had no names in any mortal language painted the void around them. "Stay close," the Primarch called out, his voice somehow carrying despite the absence of air. "The warp responds to thought and emotion. If you lose focus, you could end up scattered across 1,000 different timelines." Ghost Rider kept his attention fixed on the Primarch's golden form, using it as an anchor. But he felt the warp's pull, its whispers promising power, revenge, justice taken to impossible extremes. It was trying to understand him, to categorize him, to find the hook it could use to drag him down. "You punish the guilty," a voice that might have been Khorne whispered. "But what makes someone guilty? Let me show you a universe where everyone deserves punishment, where justice and slaughter are the same." Ghost Rider's flames burned brighter, rejecting the offering. "You seek truth," Tzeentch suggested, "but truth is malleable, subjective, ever-changing. I can show you 10,000 truths, each one contradicting the last, all equally valid." The hellfire didn't waver. "You carry the weight of eternal duty," Nurgle crooned. "Always judging, always burning, never resting. I offer release. Let the fire go out. Embrace decay and finally know peace." Ghost Rider's response was to burn hotter. "You are magnificent," Slaanesh purred, "a being of pure purpose, refined to perfection. But perfection stagnates without growth. Let me show you sensations beyond judgment, experiences that transcend duty." "Not interested," Ghost Rider said aloud, and his voice carried absolute finality. The Primarch glanced back, impressed. "They're trying to claim you. The fact that you're resisting this easily is remarkable." "They're offering me things I've already rejected 1,000 times," Ghost Rider replied. "I know what I am. Nothing they say can change that." "Then you're stronger than most," the Primarch acknowledged. "Hold that certainty. We're approaching the confluence." Ahead, the warp's chaotic swirling intensified. 4 distinct regions met at a central point, each one dominated by a different Chaos God's influence. Khorne's domain bled red, an endless battlefield where demon armies clashed for eternity. Tzeentch's territory shifted through impossible geometries, crystalline structures that defied physics. Nurgle's garden spread like infection, beautiful and horrifying in equal measure. And Slaanesh's realm pulsed with colors and sensations that threatened sanity with their intensity. Where they met, at the exact center, was the confluence, a space roughly a mile wide where none of the four held complete dominance. It was the most stable instability in the warp, an eye in the storm where the competing energies canceled each other out just enough to create something approaching neutral ground. "There," the Primarch said, pointing. "That's where we make our stand." They descended toward the confluence, and immediately the warp reacted. Demons materialized from all four domains, armies pouring forth like blood from a wound. Bloodletters charged from Khorne's realm, their war cries shaking reality. Pink horrors bubbled up from Tzeentch's crystalline structures. Plague-bearers shambled from Nurgle's garden, trailing disease. Demonettes pirouetted from Slaanesh's domain, weapons raised. "Here we go," Ghost Rider said, his chain extending to its full, impossible length. They hit the confluence at full speed, the Primarch's sword blazing with golden light as it carved through the first wave of demons. Ghost Rider's chain became a whirlwind of judgment, wrapping around multiple targets simultaneously, hellfire consuming everything it touched. The Primarch landed at the confluence's center and drove his fist into the ground. One of the golden chains detached from his wrist, extending downward, burrowing deep into the warp's substance. Golden light began to spread from the impact point, pushing back against the competing chaos energies. "It's working!" the Primarch shouted over the din of battle, "but I need time to fully anchor it." "You'll have it," Ghost Rider promised, taking up position around him. The demon armies converged from all sides. This wasn't the disorganized assault they'd faced at the fortress. This was coordinated, strategic, four different forces working in terrifying harmony. Bloodletters formed shield walls. Pink horrors provided covering fire with warp bolts. Plague-bearers advanced in patient, inevitable lines. Demonettes flanked and harried, never committing to direct assault. Ghost Rider fought like he'd never fought before. His chain struck in 12 directions at once. Each impact a judgment rendered, each demon touched by hellfire simply ceasing to exist. But for everyone destroyed, 3 more took its place. The Chaos Gods were pouring everything into this battle, recognizing the threat for what it was. Behind him, the Primarch knelt with both hands on the golden chain, channeling the Emperor's essence through it. The light spread further, stabilizing the confluence, transforming chaos into order inch by agonizing inch. But the effort was costing him. Ghost Rider could see corruption beginning to creep back into the Primarch's flesh, the sheer concentration of warp energy overwhelming even the purification he'd received. "Faster would be good," Ghost Rider called out, his chain intercepting a greater demon that had attempted to bypass him. "Can't. Rush. Divinity," the Primarch grunted through clenched teeth. "Just hold them. A little longer." A bloodthirster broke through Ghost Rider's perimeter, its axe raised to strike the vulnerable Primarch. Ghost Rider's chain wrapped around his own torso and yanked, pulling him directly into the bloodthirster's path. He caught the axe with his bare hands, hellfire meeting brass, and the two forces struggled for dominance. "You cannot protect him forever," the bloodthirster snarled. "We are infinite. You are alone." Ghost Rider's skull pressed closer to the demon's face. "I'm not alone. I'm just the only one you can see." Behind him, the golden light flared, reaching critical mass. The Primarch screamed, not in pain but in triumph. As the anchor took hold, the confluence stabilized, chaos energy crystallizing into something solid, permanent, real. A new fortress began to form, rising from nothing, walls of golden light reaching toward the false sky. And in the warp beyond, Ghost Rider felt something shift. The Chaos Gods, witnessing their domain being claimed, made a decision. They needed to end this threat permanently, completely, immediately. They began gathering power for something catastrophic, something that would require tearing reality itself apart. Ghost Rider smiled without lips. That's it. Come on, do something desperate. The warp itself began to scream. Ghost Rider felt it first, a gathering of power so immense that it made the previous battles look like skirmishes. The four Chaos Gods, normally antagonistic and competitive, were combining their essences into something unprecedented. Not an avatar this time, but something far more dangerous. They were creating a singularity, a focal point of such concentrated chaos energy that it would collapse in on itself and take everything nearby with it. The new fortress, the Primarch, Ghost Rider, and a significant chunk of the warp's local reality. And to generate that much power, they were tearing open rifts to every reality they could reach, drawing energy from infinite parallel dimensions. "That's our opening," Ghost Rider said, watching the rifts form. "They're being careless, desperate. One of those rifts will lead to my reality." The Primarch staggered to his feet, corruption already receding as the newly formed fortress's sanctification worked on him. "If you're going to jump through, you need to do it now, before they stabilize the singularity." The demon armies had pulled back, not from mercy, but from self-preservation. Even they feared what their gods were creating. The air, if it could be called that, crackled with energy that made Ghost Rider's hellfire flicker and dance unpredictably. "What about you?" Ghost Rider asked. "I'll survive," the Primarch said with absolute certainty. "This fortress will protect me, just like the last one. And when the singularity collapses, it'll take a significant portion of the Chaos God's power with it. They're sacrificing territory for the chance to kill us both." He smiled grimly. "They're making the same mistake they always make, underestimating hope." Above them, the singularity was forming. A point of darkness so absolute it hurt to look at, surrounded by rifts to 1,000 different realities. Ghost Rider could see glimpses through them, worlds of endless fire, dimensions of pure thought, universes where physics worked backward, and somewhere among them, his own reality. "I can't tell which one leads home," Ghost Rider admitted. The rifts were opening and closing too fast, reality bleeding into unreality in chaotic patterns. "Then I'll help you," the Primarch said. He raised his hand, the remaining golden chains on his wrists glowing with the Emperor's light. "My father sees all of humanity across all of time. His essence carries that sight." The chains extended, reaching toward the rifts, touching each one briefly. "There, that one." He pointed to a rift that looked no different from any other, just a tear in space leaking colors that shouldn't exist. But Ghost Rider felt it now, the pull of home, the echo of his own reality calling to him. "You're sure?" "I'm my father's son," the Primarch replied. "I inherited many things from him. Perfect certainty is one of them." He placed his hand on Ghost Rider's shoulder, the first time he'd touched the spirit of vengeance directly. "Thank you, Spirit. You gave me something I thought I'd lost forever. The belief that redemption is possible, that sins can be forgiven, that even the lost can be found." Ghost Rider looked at the Primarch, this being who had endured 10,000 years of torment and emerged still believing in hope. "What will you do now, after this?" "Continue my father's work," the Primarch said simply. "Build these fortresses throughout the warp. Create sanctuaries for those lost in this realm. Fight against chaos not with hate, but with hope." His expression turned distant, "And maybe one day find a way to return to the Materium, to stand before my father again, and hear him say what I've waited 10 millennia to hear." "What's that?" "Welcome home, my son." The singularity pulsed, growing larger, more unstable. The demon armies were fleeing now, retreating to their gods' domains. Even the Chaos Gods themselves seemed to be pulling back, creating distance from what they'd unleashed. "Go," the Primarch urged, "before it's too late." Ghost Rider hesitated for one moment, then extended his hand. The Primarch gripped it, mortal gesture, infinite meaning. "May your father's light guide you, and may your fires burn eternal," the Primarch replied. Ghost Rider released his hand and launched himself toward the rift. His hellfire propelled him through the warp's substance, dodging collapsing reality bubbles and errant demon stragglers. The rift was closing, the Chaos Gods realizing too late that they'd given their enemy exactly what he needed. Behind him, the Primarch raised his sword toward the singularity and began to pray, not for salvation, for transformation. The golden fortress blazed brighter, its walls extending outward to contain the singularity's blast, to redirect its energy not outward in destruction, but inward in purification. Ghost Rider reached the rift and plunged through, reality inverted. The warp's chaos gave way to different chaos, the structured physics of his home dimension reasserting themselves. He felt himself being pulled, stretched, compressed, reconstituted. The journey between realities wasn't meant for living beings, but Ghost Rider was already dead in all the ways that mattered. He tumbled through the void between worlds, hellfire the only constant, and then impact. He crashed into concrete, the familiar solidity of Earth beneath him. Los Angeles, the same stretch of freeway where the demon Kavashk had opened the original rift. Traffic had been diverted around a massive scorch mark in the road, the aftermath of the dimensional explosion. Ghost Rider rose slowly, flames dimming to embers. He could feel it. The connection to the warp was severed. He was home. The spirit of vengeance turned his skull toward the sky, where stars burned with normal light, following normal physics. Somewhere, in another reality, in a fortress of gold standing in an ocean of madness, a lost Primarch continued his war against chaos itself. And every demon he burned, every soul he saved, every inch of the warp he reclaimed for order, it was all in service of a hope that had been born when a spirit of vengeance looked at a fallen demigod and saw not a monster, but a soul worth saving. Ghost Rider's motorcycle materialized beneath him, hellfire roaring to life. He had his own work to do, his own sins to judge, his own justice to deliver. But he would never forget the Primarch, the lost who became found, the damned who chose redemption. And in the grim darkness of the far future, where there was only war, one small light burned brighter because a stranger from another reality had believed that even in hell, hope could survive. The Ghost Rider rode into the Los Angeles night, leaving behind only flames and the fading echo of a battle fought in a realm where nightmares walked and legends were born. In the 41st millennium, there is only war. This is the truth the Imperium tells itself, the doctrine carved into every bolter shell and whispered in every prayer. But the Imperium forgets, or perhaps chooses not to remember, that war requires something to fight for, not just against. The lost Primarch understood this. He learned it across 10,000 years of isolation, fighting demons while clinging to the one thing chaos could never truly corrupt. The belief that suffering can have meaning, that punishment can lead to redemption, that even in the darkest depths of the warp, hope can endure. The Ghost Rider, spirit of vengeance from a reality that knew nothing of the dark millennium, taught him something equally important, that judgment and mercy are not opposites, but complements, that seeing someone's sins doesn't mean you cannot see their worth, that the guilty can be more than their crimes, and the fallen can rise again. Together, for one impossible moment, they created something the galaxy had not seen in millennia. Genuine redemption achieved not through martyrdom or erasure, but through facing one's sins and choosing to be better. The Fortress of Redemption stands now in the warp, a beacon of golden light in an ocean of madness, proof that even in hell itself, the Emperor's grace can reach. The Chaos Gods raged, the demons screamed. But somewhere in the Materium, on a golden throne where an immortal being sacrifices himself daily for humanity's survival, the Emperor felt what he had not felt since he imprisoned his son 10,000 years ago. Pride, not for conquest or destruction, but for growth, for becoming, for redemption earned through suffering and sustained through hope. The lost Primarch is found, but his war is far from over. Each fortress he builds, each soul he saves from the warp's grasp, each demon he burns with holy fire, these are not just victories, but acts of defiance against the fundamental nature of this dark galaxy. They are proof that in the grim darkness of the far future, where there is only war, there can also be something else. There can be hope. And hope, as the Chaos Gods learned, is the most dangerous weapon of all. The Emperor protects. More stories await.